Council is returning from an executive session that began about 20 minutes ago. Any action as a result of the executive session, Ms. Brunwell?
No, Your Honor.
And we'll call the 7:30 meeting to order, and that should arise for the invocation and pledge of Commissioner Monica Adele.
Dear Lord, we thank you for this day that you have given us, and I ask that you be with us tonight as we make decisions that affect this wonderful city that we live in, Grapevine. And I want to thank you for our wonderful firemen and EMT and police and how they help us so. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty, we welcome you to our meeting tonight. We have 3 public hearings scheduled with the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we will take those after we have an initial presentation. We've got Doug Evans, you're at the podium, so we have a presentation to make at this time. You want to explain what that is?
Yes, Mayor, Honorable Member of City Council. It was in a deed restriction of the developer of the Silver Oaks apartments that when they started development, they would build a hike and bike trail for the city of Grapevine. And the developer did that and did a great job with the hike and bike trail. It's a beautiful trail. However, over the years, the banks of the Denton Creek started eroding and undermined the trail in several locations. So we had to shut the trail down just due to safety for a couple of years. We approached Silver Oaks Apartments and talked to them about participation in the project, and they did. They came up with half the amount it cost to design the solution to the erosion, and then half the amount for the construction. And I would like to just go through a couple slides. This was one of the areas that was most affected. You can see the hike and bike trail is on the top of the slope. I have another picture of that, but you can see the parking lot too of the complex is right there. These are gabion baskets. This is just a little closer up example. It's wire baskets that they've put rock in. But really kind of a work of art as far as I'm concerned. The hike and bike trail obviously is on the top of the slope, and here's the finished product with that as well. And here's another area upstream, closer to the dam, where we had another problem with erosion along the creek, and this was the solution to that problem. And another area a little farther up from that. And then there was a couple areas that we had to put in drains that took water off a slope and back underneath the trail, and then down to the creek area as well. And then this is the last improvement that was done. It was actually off the parking lot of the complex itself to take the water underneath the trail and into the creek. So the trail is open to the public now. Any time that we've been out there looking at it and inspecting the trail system, there's always people out there using the trail, which is a good thing. So I'd like to, Mayor, if you would, do the honors of presenting a plaque. The total amount that the apartment, the marquee at Silver Oaks put into the project was about $400,000. So it was a good amount. It was a great partnership for the city. So I'd like to call Carol Cordell and Megan Jenkins up to the podium, please.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
They are. We're excited to have the trail open. It was a great partnership with the city, and so we're excited for it to be finished, and our residents really appreciate it being open again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. each of these open, take them one at a time as they're advertised. We'll give the applicant an opportunity to make their presentation. Then any guest present that would like to speak either for or against the proposal will be recognized. If you're not an applicant and wish to speak, you need to register with Ms. Brown. She will call on you in the order that you've registered, and we will take your testimony as a part of the record. The Planning and Zoning Commission meets in a separate meeting after the joint public hearings and makes recommendations to the council. So you're invited to participate in this part of the city council meeting tonight if you would like. We'll begin by opening the public hearing on conditional use application CU 13-13. Mr. Ron Stombaugh of our staff will introduce the request.
Thank you, sir. Our first case here, we have an address of 2225 East Grapevine Mills Circle. It's located in the out parcel area of the Grapevine Mills Mall, and it has frontage on both State Highway 26 and Grapevine Mills Circle. Currently zoned CC, Community Commercial District. Our request this evening is to amend the previously approved site plan for on-premise alcohol beverage sales, outside dining, revisions to the building elevations, floor plan in conjunction with a restaurant. Our site plan here shows the location of the proposed Chipotle Mexican Grill. This will be occupying a former restaurant that was approved by council back in December of 2003 called Ritzy's. With this request, the applicant proposes to revise the floor plan and elevations, including removal of 2 drive-through windows, make some elevation changes, I already said, reconfiguration of the front entry, and some facade improvements. Seating will be reduced from 110 seats for the previous restaurant to 86. Be 70 inside, 16 outside, 29 parking spaces required, and 42 on site. With that, I'll introduce Ms. Krista Hunter to speak to the report.
Hello, my name is Krista Hunter. I'm with Red Architecture and Planning, and here to answer any questions you may have about the site or the building.
Questions?
All right.
Questions? No questions?
Do we have any questions from the council? The applicant has nothing further.
No, I do not.
Thank you very much. Do we have anyone wishing to speak?
No, here.
All right, then that completes the public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
Commission has voted to close the public hearing. Motion from the council.
Move to close.
Second.
All in favor, all opposed, motion carries. Public hearing is closed on CU 13-13. Public hearing is open on CU 13-19. Mr. Stombaugh.
We have an address of 30,000 Grapevine Mills Parkway, Suite 531. It is the existing Chili's restaurant that's in the mall near the food court, also zone CC, Community Commercial District. And our request simply this evening is to revise the floor plan for the existing restaurant. Originally approved in August of '97, this 3,480 square foot restaurant's been in operation since the opening of the mall in October '97. With this request, the applicant is proposing some minor changes to the floor plan with an increase in seating from 143 seats to 148. And we have Mr. Terry Long here to speak.
Good evening, Terry Long with Brink International, parent company of Chili's. I'm here to answer any of your questions for the request for the CUP for the alteration of the floor plan.
Questions from Mr. Long? No questions?
Questions from the council?
So exactly what are you doing? Just adding 5 seats? Is that pretty well it?
No, ma'am. Actually, 2 years ago, our brand was 37 years old, and through due diligence, we found out it wasn't as relevant as what we thought it needed to be. So we're undertaking re-imaging all 803 of our corporate-owned restaurants. We currently have done 400 of them, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to completely re-image this restaurant in the front of the house. So through the alteration of the front of the house and efficiencies in seating, we're actually gaining 5 seats.
What is your time frame?
Our building permit is ready. We're ready to go.
Okay. Any other questions? Apparently not. Thank you, Mr. Long.
Thank you very much.
Do we have anyone wishing to speak?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
Need a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close.
Second.
All in Move we close. Second.
All in favor, all opposed, the public hearing is closed. Public hearing is open on AM 13-4, proposed amendments to the Grapevine Code of Ordinance. Mr. Stoneball.
We do have two proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance this evening. The first is to the definition section relative to flag lots. And although we have prohibited flag lots in our residential districts, we still find them to be a useful tool in our non-residential district. However, staff on occasion has encountered a little bit of resistance relative to the establishment of the front yard setback in flag lots. And as such, we're recommending some language be added to the flag lot definition that would require the establishment of the front yard setback for a flag lot at that location where the lot meets the minimum lot width. Our second proposed amendment is to Section 60 sign standards. This is relative to sandwich board signage, which is currently allowed only in the CBD district. In a workshop with the Planning and Zoning Commission on July 16th, we discussed the possibility of some other locations for sandwich board sign. And with that, we're proposing allowing sandwich board signs on commercially zoned property that fronts on Main Street, north to Peach Street and south to Nash Street, as well as on any other commercially zoned property that has a historic overlay. That was a little brief, but I'd be happy to answer any questions on either one of those two.
Mr. Chairman,
Questions?
all right, questions from the council? Apparently not. Do we have anyone wishing to speak?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
Need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Commission to close, the motion from the council.
Move to close public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, all opposed, the public hearing is closed. That completes the public hearings. The Planning and Zoning Commission will move to the room to the right. That's a public meeting. You're invited to attend if you have an interest in their agenda. Or you may remain here, and we will take up the remaining portion of our agenda as published. All right, we begin the remaining portion of our agenda with citizen comments. Do we have any tonight, Ms. Brown?
Yes, Mayor. Carl Young, 4113 Meadow Drive.
Mr. Young?
Council, I hope I didn't have to say anything tonight, but at the workshop, after I was listening to what we were talking about Tom Thumb, and where I saw the road was going to go to for the store, which, first off, understand, I totally agree. One question came to mind, and as I told Mayor earlier this evening, if I don't ask the question, I'm wrong. Will the road that was discussed to service Tom Thumb be used as the service access to the shopping center? Right now, they must either come off of Northwest Highway or Dove or the frontage road. If we add that road that we're talking about, I should say we're talking about that, could that then become the service road or support road, whatever you want to call it, for the shopping center? And that was the question that came to mind after I was looking at it, because if that's the case, I agree with the mayor, hopefully it doesn't last real long. But maybe it might if it becomes the service access for the shopping center. And I refer to service access where they bring the trucks in to supply the stores. And that's the question. Other than that, I'm leaving.
Thank you, Mr. Young. We don't have a whole lot of options, I'm afraid, except what our engineers can come up with in the future. So hopefully we find something better. Anyone else?
No, Mayor.
Then we'll DFW Connector Master Utility Adjustment Agreement with Northgate. Mr. Lassiter.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. When the DFW Connector was beginning, Council approved a master utility adjustment agreement with Northgate to relocate all of our water and wastewater lines in the Northgate Connector corridor. Northgate is now going to do the construction of FM 2499 improvements, roughly from 121 north to just north of Denton Creek. We do have some water and sewer lines in that area. Northgate is willing to relocate those lines as well, which works for us best because it is, again, a design-build project, and so they're moving in a lot of different directions at a lot of different times. They're also coordinating all of the dry utility relocations, underground telecommunications, underground power, those type of things. So it's advisable that we go this route. The cost to us is pretty reasonable in our estimation. It's actually it's estimated $113,401.91. We recommended a $15,000 contingency in that because, again, it's based on preliminary engineering at this time. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Stan, refresh my memory on the utility relocation of the big project. We had contingency there as well. Did it, was it suffice?
Well, actually, we didn't have contingency in that one. We had a contract authorized by council of $1,819,000 and change. We are pretty much right at that number, and we've got some bills coming in for the last adjustment, which was a bit of a surprise to a lot of people, and that was the water line crossing Park Boulevard at the wall. So when those numbers come in, we're going to come back to council and get your approval because we promised you we would keep you apprised of any costs. But honestly, for as big a project as that was, it's been very successful in keeping the costs within the limits we were targeting.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Yes, Stan, when are we going to officially receive whatever portion of the connector project it is that allows us to take a look at re-engineering Wall Street and Park in 114?
That, I think the last time Jerry was here, he talked to the council about that. I don't know that we've actually set a target date. The real challenge will be to have the feds and the state abandon or convey that intersection to us. And that will be something we'll have to approach them with and work through some potential hurdles regarding traffic issues at the intersection, potentially a schematic of sorts. Haven't really decided on that yet. We may go the other route and just ask for the intersection and then not deal with them after it's released. But since they've invested so much money, there may be an issue on when we can get them to consider conveying that property to us. So we'll keep you posted on that. The Tom Thumb Drive provides an interim relief to some degree, but it doesn't reinstate that southbound left turn.
Great, thank you.
Other questions?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Not all in favor, all opposed, motion carried. Thank you, Stan. Council will now consider approval of the City of South Lake award of the construction contract for Phase 2 of the Kimball Road widening project to Pavecon Ltd. Mr. Lassiter.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. Again, you have before you tonight approval of South Lake's award of the construction contract for Phase 2 of the Kimball Road widening project. This portion of the project does include Kimball Road work within the city of Grapevine. And in 2008, the council adopted an interlocal agreement with South Lake with our anticipated cost approaching $2 million for everything, construction, engineering, utility relocations, whatever. The total based on the bid plus the engineering services that have been performed to date is $1,326,730.23, including a 5% contingency. That's well within the $2 million that we had initially anticipated. Staff would recommend approval.
I just want to say I appreciate that you put a deadline to a certain amount of days, because living in that part of town, as I'm sure Shane will attest to, I think Kimball, the first half of Kimball took longer than the whole connector, to be honest with you. It was an extremely slow project. So I'm excited that there's a time frame to get this part done, because it needs to move. I don't know if they're using the same contractor. I'd heard they're not because of the problems. So I'm happy that it's going to be within a year.
Well, the concern I had too is this was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
We agreed to it, and I was just afraid that the cost for Grapevine's portion was going to creep up significantly. So I'm pleased at how that has come about. And like Darlene, I look forward to that being completed. I would like to see at a later date, and you could just get that to me individually, but I'd like to see what the roadway is going to look like ultimately once it's completed.
Okay.
Yeah, and adding to that, there's been some different discussions within South Lake, I understand, at that Kimball-Dove intersection. And I don't know what's going to change. I've heard at one point they were talking about doing a roundabout. I don't know what their plans are to do there, but as we go through that process, maybe we could get an update on what's planned for that intersection.
The plans do not include a roundabout.
Okay.
They actually include conduit for future traffic signal.
Okay, okay, thank you.
All right, with y'all, we'll just put it on a workshop, because I think everybody would be interested in seeing how the Kimball Road improvements would be.
So I'll move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, all opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Stan. This brings us to the consent agenda portion of our agenda. Items 7 through 17 are not scheduled for any council debate. Any guest present can request any of these items be removed for further discussion at this time. Do you have any requests? I hear none, so item 7 through 17 is consent. The motion is in order.
I make a motion that we approve consent items 7 through 17.
Second.
All in favor, all opposed, motion carries. We have the recommendations of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
They're done, but I don't know where they
Go
are.
ahead on.
Scott, we're ready.
All right. Mr. Stoneball has them, I bet.
Yes.
All right, the recommendations of the Planning and Zoning Commission on item 18.
Approval 7-0.
This is the Chipolata Mexican Grill, 7-0. All right, consideration of the recommendation is in order.
Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor, all opposed, motion carries. Item 19 is the Chili 2.
Also approved 7-0.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
In favor, all opposed, motion carries. Item 20, which is the proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance.
Both amendments were approved 7-0 with a slight amendment to the wording relative to the flag lot. The word shall be established was changed to shall begin.
Move for approval with the proposed amendment.
Second.
With the amendment to the amendment.
All in favor, all opposed, motion carries. Item 21, the preliminary plat of Lot 1, Block 1, Byers Place.
It was approved 7-0, sir.
I move the city council approve the statement of findings in the preliminary plat of Lot 1, Block 1, Byers Place.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, all opposed, motion carries. The final plat of Lot 1, Block 1, Byers Place.
Approved 7-0.
I'll move the city council approve the statement of findings in the final plat of Lot 1, Block 1, Byers Place.
Second.
All in favor, all opposed, motion carries. Item 23, which is the final plats of Lot 1 through 26 of Block 1 of Eastwoods.
Approved 7-0.
Move the city council approve the statement of findings in the final plat of lots 1 through 26, Block 1, Eastwood.
Second.
favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Item 24, final plats of lots 1 through 13, Block 1, lots 1 through 15, Block 2, lots 1 through 19, Block 3, lots 1 through 6, Block 4, lots 1 through 14, Block 5, and Tract 1 of the Glade Hills addition.
Also approved 7-0.
I move that the city council approve the statement of findings and the final plat of lots 1 through 13, block 1, lots 1 through 15, block 2, lots 1 through 19, block 3, lots 1 through 6, block 4, lots 1 through 14, block 5, and tract 1, Glade Hill.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Stumbaugh, for the recommendations of the Planning and Zoning Commission. That completes our agenda tonight as published. Thank you for being with us. A motion to adjourn is in order.
We adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Council stands adjourned.
I'm going to take credit. How's it going?